Have you ever looked at a map of Egypt and just thought, how? I mean, seriously, how did one of the greatest civilizations in history emerge from a place that looks like this? To the west, you've got the Sahara Desert, one of the harshest places on Earth. To the east, another desert. To the north, the Mediterranean Sea, and to the south, it's not exactly a walk in the park either. Egypt is surrounded by places that basically scream, good luck surviving here. And yet, somehow, Egypt didn't just survive. It thrived. It became legendary. We're talking pyramids, pharaohs, massive armies, insane architecture, writing, science. Egypt wasn't just another country in history. The answer isn't magic, and it's definitely not aliens. The real reason Egypt became Egypt is because of one thing: geography, and more specifically, one river, the Nile. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Without the Nile River, Egypt wouldn't exist at all. If you erase the Nile from the map, what's left? Mostly just desert, endless sand and rock. That's why even today, around 95% of Egypt's population lives near the Nile. It's where life is possible, where farming is possible, where cities can grow. The Nile isn't just a river in Egypt, it's the spine of the entire country. What makes this story even crazier is that Egypt isn't really a desert civilization the way people imagine it. It's a river civilization trapped inside a desert. Picture it like this: the Nile is a thin green line of life cutting through a giant sea of death. Everything outside the river is harsh, dry, and unforgiving. Everything close to it is alive. That contrast is the entire story of Egypt. The ancient Egyptians even had names for this. They called the fertile land near the river Kemet, meaning the black land, because the soil was dark and rich, and the desert around it, they called that Deshret, the red land. This wasn't just poetry. It was reality. Black land meant life. Red land meant death. Step too far into the red land, and you don't just get lost, you die. No water, no food, no mercy. So in a world like that, the Nile wasn't just helpful. The Nile was everything. Now here is the part that made Egypt different from so many other ancient civilizations. The Nile wasn't too chaotic or random. Every single year, it flooded, almost like it was programmed. The water would rise, spread into the fields, and then slowly retreat, leaving behind a thick layer of fertile soil, like nature was handing Egypt free food on a silver platter. Imagine living in ancient times and having a river that basically fertilizes your land every year like a natural delivery service. Most ancient people lived in constant fear of drought or famine. But Egypt had a system. When you know food is coming, you can plan. You can store grain. You can build houses. You can create laws and train armies. You can invest time into culture, religion, and science. You can do things that starving people cannot do. Let's just time travel back for a second. You're not a pharaoh. You're not a priest. You're just an ordinary Egyptian farmer thousands of years ago. You wake up early, the sun is rising, and you look toward the Nile. The water is rising again. And instead of panic, you feel relief. Because to you, this flood isn't a disaster. This flood is your paycheck. Weeks later, the flood retreats, leaving behind black soil so rich it looks almost unreal. That feeling, that certainty, was incredibly rare in the ancient world. And it's one of the biggest reasons Egypt became so powerful so early. The Nile gave Egypt food security, which led to population growth and the ability to support cities. And when you have cities, you get specialization. Some people become builders, others soldiers, artists, scribes, or engineers. Step by step, Egypt transforms from scattered villages into a civilization. And once Egypt had a surplus of food, it could do something that seems almost impossible. It could build monuments that were not necessary for survival. That's why the pyramids are so important. Not just because they're big and mysterious, but because they are proof that Egypt had extra resources. Think about it. Pyramids are basically giant receipts showing that Egypt had enough food to feed thousands of workers for years. Nobody builds pyramids when they're starving. Those things only happen when a society is stable enough to think beyond tomorrow. The Nile gave Egypt that power. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories about how our world came to be.